call this meeting to order. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should have said that this is the City of Southfield regular meeting of the Planning Commission, August 27th, 2025. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bernuti is excused. Commissioner Goodwin-Dye.
Present.
Commissioner Griffiths.
Here.
Commissioner Gruber.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
Here.
Commissioner Willis.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right. Do we have any comments on the agenda, or if not, looking for a motion to approve the agenda?
To the chair.
Yep.
I make a recommendation that we agree to the agenda for the planning meeting of August 27, 2025.
So moved.
Got a favorable recommendation on the agenda by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye, second by Dr. Stevens-Gunn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, agenda proceeds. Announcements and communications today?
Not at this time, sir.
All right. Moving right along to the first item, PSLU 25-0006, special land use for Allegra Marketing Print Mail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As noted, this is a 24471 West 10 Mile. It's a special land use approval for a reproduction and duplicating facility with other complementary office services. That's actually the description in the ordinance for the use, so we just use the exact verbiage. It's in an OS office service district. It's an existing multi-tenant building shown up in the aerial photo with entry, I believe, that's the east side of the building. And the hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Just going through some background here. Current zoning is OS, office service. As noted, future land use plan has a local mixed use, which is consistent with that zoning. There is some RE residential, or kind of wraps around the side and then below that, and then multifamily on the other side, more commercial to the north. Just to zoom in on the site aerial here, as you can see, you got a kind of long, narrow building goes into the site. This tenant space is more toward the rear, the second half of the building, the south half of the building. Multiple tenant building, been there for a few years. It's got a variety of tenants in it. It had an updated approved site plan and then an updated site plan when they changed the striping to take care of those buses, the vans for the senior facility, or day facility that's there. Just some site photos of the site. This is from 10 Mile at the entrance. This is basically the entrance into the space in question on the building, facing west from the entrance lot. Floor plan provided by the applicant just shows all the equipment and kind of layout of the space. As they noted, they were moving into a larger space. They even have some additional room to potentially grow their operation here, it looks like. Interior photos of the layout. Additional interiors. I did note last time the reason why there's good interior photos is the fact that they needed this special land use kind of got missed when they moved to this site, and we're just kind of rectifying that issue now. The upside is you can see exactly what it's going to be. Downside is, well, we're kind of doing things in a backwards order. This is the original approved site plan from 1987. As you can see, the site more or less laid out as shown. And then there was an updated site plan where they modified the parking lot in the rear there to handle the bus parking for the buses and vans. The petitioner is present if they'd like to come forward.
Please state your name and address for the record, and if you'd like to just add a little bit about the project, including maybe that you relocated from another redevelopment site in Southfield to here.
My name is John Carlo. I'm the owner of Allegra Printing in Southfield. The address is 24471 West 10 Mile Road, Southfield, Michigan 48033. We were originally at the 12 Mile and Northwestern location, but had to move due to the new car wash that was going in. So we settled on this new 10 Mile location. It was much bigger. It fit all of our needs. Obviously, due to all the chaos that was involved with moving, we didn't even realize that it wasn't properly zoned. So that's kind of why we're going about this now and trying to get it rectified.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I'm going to ask you to step back for a second. Open up the public hearing at this time. If any members of the public would wish to come forward and speak on this item. Seeing no members of the public present today, close the public hearing. Thank you for handling the formality. Please come back to the front. To the commission, any questions or comments? Dr. Stevens-Gunn?
I'd just like to thank you for retaining your business in the city of Southfield. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Commissioner Martin?
Do you do documents for homeowners association? You have many homeowners associations?
Yeah, we do a few documents for, we do like programs and directories especially.
No further questions.
I have no questions.
Commissioner?
I don't have any questions. I don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for going through the process. Thank you for staying in the city of Southfield.
You're welcome.
Congratulations on the additional space. Hopefully you fill it up
Yep, thank you.
if you need it. Do we have a recommendation from the planning department?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending favorable recommendation of the special use request of Allegra Marketing for this location. This will go to council for final action because it is special land use. The proposed use was of size and character. It's in harmony and appropriate in the office service district. Unlikely to cause any nuisances as it's an entirely interior operation. It's consistent with the spirit and purpose of the chapter, not inconsistent or contrary to the objectives or principles of planning for the community. Not going to have any serious issue on vehicular traffic, as the site really can handle the volume for something like this. Not likely to produce any other nuisance effects like noise, dust, dirt, glare, odor, or fumes, as once again it is an interior modern print operation. And recommendation is based on documents, facts, representations, and stipulations placed on the record by the petitioner. And it would be, conditions would be subject to previously approved site plans, SP 808, SP 850, and PASB 21017, because we're not requiring a new site plan, because this is just a tenant. Continuous compliance with all applicable codes, ordinances, laws, statutes. Petitioner must perform all work under plans, permits, inspections by the city of Southfield, and hours of operation Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, as indicated by the applicant.
Thank you. With that, looking for a motion from the planning commission.
To the chair, I recommend that we accept the favorable recommendation for the special use request for PSLU 25-0006.
Support.
We'll get a favorable motion by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Favorable recommendation passes. Next step is city council.
I believe the first meeting in September at city council is on the 8th. So I'll send you an email. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a zoning text amendment, PTZA 25-0004.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a zoning text amendment to kind of basically put into our code adult day services, sometimes called adult daycare or adult health daycare, day health services. Our ordinance, we've been getting requests for these for the last few years, and we've been interpreting them as permitted in a bunch of districts where child care centers or facilities for human care are allowed, because while it's neither of those things, it's got aspects of both. So that was the interpretation, but after a couple of years of doing it by interpretation, you're normally supposed to amend your code. Like if it was a one-off, but I've been here 2 years and I've probably fielded a half dozen requests related to this use, just the 2 years I've been here, and there was already an established interpretation when I started. So we thought it was time to address it, put a definition in the ordinance, and put it on the use lists. It's just one of those things where your ordinance sometimes needs to evolve, because when this ordinance was originally adopted, this was not as big of a business as it is now. So we are going to provide a definition for adult day services. And we have the definition up there. Adult day services are defined as care provided for any part of a day but less than 24 hours to functionally or cognitively impaired adult persons. It is provided through a structured program of social, rehabilitative, and/or maintenance services in a supportive group setting other than the participant's home. That is a pretty standard definition used in all of the regulations I could find from the state and in the industry generally. general enough that it kind of captures the full range of adult day services, and we didn't want to have to split too many hairs on that. We did look at the background, as I said, we have a substantial aging population and other adults with disabilities that really could benefit from these services, and their caregivers and families also benefit from having availability of quality services in the community. We get multiple inquiries that we're kind of finally just addressing this in a code amendment. It's likely to continue to be in demand for the foreseeable future with the aging population. So we just want to kind of cover it explicitly moving forward. I did go through the master plan, and kind of it aligns with a variety of goals and objectives in the master plan. I list several of them here and in the report. Age-friendly community, equitable community with health and well-being covered for all people regardless of age or disability, high-quality integrated communities, diverse range of uses, and needs for care and wellness. So I think it hits a lot of those kind of high-priority goals and objectives. As we did, I've already discussed the definitions. One of the parts of this is in the definition section. We're just literally adding a definition, so we know what it is. The trick about definition sections is that really just supposed to be a definition. The regulations are supposed to be somewhere else. In this case, we're just adding it to the use list. Because as I noted in your packets, there are a lot of other regulations already covering these facilities. Far more comprehensive than anything we could ever put in a zoning ordinance we could ever really enforce by local code enforcement staff. So it's best to kind of leave it to the agencies that specialize in the enforcement for those operations. After our discussion at the last meeting, I did discuss this with Terry Crow, the city planner, and we agreed to add, I think it was Mr. Griffiths who raised this, add adult day services as an accessory to both indoor recreation centers and religious institutions in single-family residential districts as a special land use. Those uses are special land uses already, so we're just saying, hey, if you have an indoor recreation center or a religious institution in a single-family neighborhood in single-family zoning, this activity could be allowed as part of that special land use. Because as Mr. Griffiths noted, a lot of those facilities actually are appropriate for that, and actually one of the places I worked in college was a senior center in a residential area, and one of the programs they ran in part of that building was an adult day services program. So when you said it, it immediately went, well, yeah, of course. Those facilities would potentially be appropriate. So we did add that. This is an addition since we talked about it earlier in the month. The remainder of the amendments are exactly the same. This is the only change. So we just added it. We first looked at the religious institutions, then I realized the indoor recreation centers might, say if you had a senior center, might also be an appropriate location from my own experience. Looking at multifamily residential, once again, permitted as accessory to housing for the elderly, which is a special land use. And we did that anywhere for housing the elderly was allowed. We added this as a permitted accessory. That would be part of that special land use approval. And then in the OS district, office service, we added adult day services. Once again, child care facilities and facilities for human care were already permitted in those districts. Regional shopping districts, same thing. You get into regional center, which is a little complicated because regional center is a mixed use district that has primary uses and secondary uses and mixed use. So we added it as a permitted secondary use and as an accessory use to housing for the elderly in that district as well. Planned business district permitted use, B3 general business permitted use. We actually want to be, like with child care centers, reasonably permissive because these services are of value to the community. Making them difficult to get approved isn't going to promote that availability. And usually they're small businesses, a lot of them. Like your more independent child care providers. So as we noted, that really is the purpose for it. We do have to hold a public hearing because it is a zoning text amendment and then take a recommendation to council.
This is a public hearing. I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time for PTZA 25-0004. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public hearing. Dr. Stevens-Gunn, any questions or comments?
Oops, go back to this.
I think we covered it sufficiently at our last meeting, and I'd like to suggest that we move forward.
Commissioner Martin.
We'll be quiet so we can move forward.
Mr. Willis.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Gruber.
Yeah, we're good. Don't have anything.
Once again, Tom, you do a very thorough job of putting all the appropriate things in the appropriate parts of the ordinance, and I think it's a good use to fit into all the different areas you mentioned. So I have no objections to it. Do you have a recommendation from the planning department?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do. We are recommending favorable recommendation of zoning text amendment 25-0004. It will be amending the zoning ordinance in a variety of sections. It's one topic, but we had to touch a lot of parts of the ordinance to make it correct. A definition and then use list additions across the various districts where it was appropriate. We did add the single-family district in, so that was the one change since last time. The amendment will address the lack of clear regulation related to adult day services, providing them with similar treatment to child care centers and facilities for human care. Proposed amendment will promote orderly development as necessary to ensure health, safety, and welfare for the community and provide for a valuable service that is increasing demand in the community.
Thank you. With that, looking for a motion on this item.
To the chair, I'd like to recommend that the commission accept a favorable recommendation for PTZA 25-0004, the zoning text amendments.
Support.
Okay, we've got a favorable recommendation by Dr. Stevens-Gunn, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion proceeds. Next item, the meeting minutes, July 9th and July 30th.
Through the chair, motion to approve the July 9th study meeting minutes and the July 30th regular meeting transcript minutes.
Support.
We got a favorable motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Public comment. This is a public comment portion of the meeting. We'll open up the public comment at this time. If any person would like to come forward and address the commission, you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public comment section. Next item, council items update.
Yeah, we have a couple items. Council met on Monday. They approved the used vehicle sales on Telegraph at 24260, the special land use. And because we do have an admin site plan with that, but that one also is in good shape. So I should be able to, as soon as I can get a certified council resolution, I should be able to tidy that up and get those approvals done. If not by Friday, then next week. And then the daycare on Maryland was also approved. I will say, interestingly, the council was obviously very supportive. She had a lot of support from her neighbors, as she did here. And they asked her, what would encourage other people to do this? She said, well, you could make this a lot easier to do, all these meetings and the cost. And I don't know that message landed, because to me that message was, why don't you make this a permitted use instead of a special land use? That's what I heard, but I don't think that message got through. So, it's one of those cases of, with the amount of regulation the state puts on these, because with a family daycare home, you just have to have what they call a license, a certificate. But with a group daycare home, you have to have a license. It's the next level of regulation. And my point is, if you make it difficult to get those daycare homes approved, you're not making daycare homes go away, you're keeping them in the shadow economy, where they're not regulated, where you haven't had background checks, where you don't know if they have CPR training, you don't know if they've got educational enrichment training, the house hasn't been inspected, they could be doing it in a basement with no egress window. So I'm always of the opinion of sometimes when you over-regulate things, you actually push them into the shadow economy. It's not that they go away. So it's one of those cases of I'm going to keep looking for my opportunity to argue, because we allow family daycare homes by right. It's an accessory use. The state law says you have to. And we allow child care centers as a permitted use, and the districts are allowed, and they're not. So family daycare homes are permitted use. They're not a special land use. Child care centers are a permitted use. They're not a special land use. But group daycare homes are. And I think that's a little bit off, but I think that's one of those ones I'm just going to have to keep poking at until maybe I get that ball moved. But it's one of those things, if you have a chance to put a bug in an ear and you agree with me, put the bug in the ear. Because I think just hearing it from me is maybe not going to make it happen. Sometimes they got to hear it from folks got to hear it from other people. But the funny thing is, I've been here 2 years and we've not denied one of these yet. So what exactly are we doing? That's my question.
She did have favorable information from a couple of the council
Yeah.
members, and two of them were going to meet and talk with her about some
Yeah.
additional.
So I'm
things
hoping
for
she
that,
talks
so-
more about that, because I
Yeah.
thought she was clearly talking about the time, the additional meetings, the expense. Because, she was here with 2 of her kids, she's got a bunch of her own kids, she's got this day thing she's running, now she has to come to these night
And it's
meetings.
dinner time. I mean,
Yeah,
when you have
and
a
the council
family,
meetings can be
6:30
long.
is,
Yeah.
the bewitching.
Like, your
hour.
meetings are quick, but those council meetings, by the time they get to the public hearings
yeah.
for the planning items, you
It's
could have been
intense.
there 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, I get it, like, they have a lot of business to do, that's just the nature of how council meetings go, but maybe we don't need to put everybody through that. I always want to ask that question of like, what is the community gaining by regulating this way that they wouldn't get by not doing it? That's the question I want to ask. So, we'll see if we can continue to move that discussion along. And maybe if it's like, particularly if they've already run a family daycare, and we have a record on them, maybe that's a discussion to be had, because all except for that one on Pierce, they've always been moving from the family daycare to the group daycare. Furnishings for the new promenade out front that I'm sure you've all noticed. We've got benches, trash cans, light poles, and planters that match the other stuff you see in the city center. All ordered now, should be going in, I think there's a 4 to 6 week lead time, so hopefully still go in this fall. And they're also gonna put in electrical boxes, so that when we have the food trucks and have events, instead of having to have generators, we can actually plug things in, which I think will be a great improvement to those events, because those generators are, when you get a bunch of them running, it's noisy.
Yeah.
And they get, so it'd be nice to be able to do that. And they built that promenade like a road, like they can drive the food trucks or the mobile stage up on it and park them there, and it's not gonna damage it. It's built to a road specification. So it should last a long time, it's pretty heavy duty. So that was exciting, we got that approved. Council approved the purchasing, because we needed to buy like $110,000 worth of furnishings. And then we still gotta do the installation, but one thing at a time, right? And then MEDC, the Middle Belt Point Transformational Brownfield Award event was held here at City Hall on Monday before this council meeting. That went very well. They had dignitaries in from the state, the MEDC, Michigan Strategic Fund, county government, a lot of folks were there. It was a very positive event. And then at the actual city council meeting, we got our SEMCOG TAP grant award for the 9-mile pathway from M10 to Greenfield, a little over $1 million. They came with a big check and did like an award thing. So, it was a good day for a lot of positive messaging for the community. So I just wanted to cover all those items, but that's, it was a good meeting. I actually wasn't at the council meeting, but I listened to it streaming when I was, doing other stuff at home. So I thought that went pretty well. Turned out I did screw up a little bit on that 24260 Telegraph. I had the wrong address in the recommended resolution, but it was correct in the advertisement, so we were okay. They just corrected it on the fly when they were doing the meeting.
And
I'm like,
they repeated the wrong address and they had to correct it.
yeah, I had to correct it. I'm like going, and I know exactly which document it got into that fed into the, it was one error that it was was copied into the presentation, was copied into the agenda from that document. Just shows like you get an error in one spot, it can promulgate to other places if that document is a core document. So, and as I told Terry, I said, look, even I make mistakes occasionally, but as long as you're not seeing consistent mistakes, then there's really not anything to fix, because no system has 0 errors. So, anyway, small embarrassment, we got through it though. Miscellaneous, just a couple things here. We got the Planning Commission study meeting September 10th. And since I kind of had the agenda already set, I just sort of listed what we got. The landscaping is going to come back. They finally got their stormwater worked out to Lee Schultz's, our city engineer's satisfaction. They didn't have to change the plan much. They're going to have to put that parking area they're going to put in front of the building on 8 Mile that they haven't built yet. They're going to put underground detention under that and tie the system in that there were manholes put in the concrete in that area, but they didn't have anywhere to take them for. And they have to add some additional pipes to get it. So they're gonna have to rip up some of that concrete.
You're saying on the 8 Mile?
Yeah, so that in front of the building, they didn't pave yet. They paved along the side, all the way out. They're gonna put some concrete in front of that building too, and they haven't put that concrete in yet, so they're gonna do it there. So,
The building to the,
the one that actually faces 8 Mile, it's like down on the 22-108 8 Mile.
between that and the,
And,
right,
and the road, yeah, there's that space there. They're gonna bury the detention under that. They do have to put it in, so they're gonna have to dig down there and put a bunch of pipes to hold water. And they've gotta modify another part of the system to handle the particulate separation for water quality. So they do have to do some substantial work, but they don't have to rip out all the pavement they put in.
But what about that large paved area where they don't have any,
They have to make some modifications, but they're not gonna have to rip it all out. They're gonna have to trench part of it and re-pour parts of it.
so they were gonna have to do some cutting?
Yeah, but they're not gonna have to tear it all out. It's expensive, and it would have been best if they'd done it
Right the first time.
right the first time, but in the end, it'll get resolved. Second one, we've got, I don't know, you guys are aware of the old Blue Cross Blue Shield site on 11 Mile that they moved out of a decade ago. Well, 3 of the buildings, the 27, 100 through 300, went to auction, got bought by a company from East Coast with equity money. They're gonna take the 100 buildings, got an office in it, that's staying office. The other 2 buildings, they're gonna renovate and convert for residential. And they seem to have the capital and the expertise to do it. So they're gonna be getting those plans. They kind of give us some preliminary plans. They're supposed to give me the rest of it by tomorrow. But in order to like move this project along, because we would like to see them doing something with that soon, we're gonna, I put them on the agenda basically. I just gotta get them in here and get a PSP file assigned to it. And then another zoning amendment. The city's gonna be very soon in the process of replacing a bunch of the fences that were installed by the city years ago along the main right-of-ways. They're in bad shape now. And they wanna put some language in to make sure that like where they abut the residential property, the residents are doing stuff on their side that's damaging the fence. So we're looking at providing a definition for publicly installed, maintained public right-of-way fencing. And then basically just provide that 3 feet along that fence, they gotta keep clear. They can't be stacking stuff against it, they can't be planting trees or have like woody plants within 3 feet of it. They gotta keep it clear so we don't have a maintenance problem on that. Also, like when we repair them, we can get in and repair them. So,
there were maintenance agreements with homeowners associations along some of those walls.
some of them, yeah. Unfortunately, it was inconsistent with the records we pulled. So, because engineering has been working on this for a while, so they're like, look, let's just adopt an ordinance, just saying, look, you gotta keep 3 foot clear off of this fence. So that one, you're not, the stuff on your side of the fence isn't damaging it, but also say it gets hit by a car and we have to repair it. We don't want any obstructions there. We also don't want people like hanging things on it or structurally modifying it. Like those fences, they're buying, it's not gonna be the wood board on board, they're getting heavy, like commercial grade vinyl fencing. If those fences are properly installed and maintained, they can last 20, 30 years. But if they're not, it's gonna be a problem. So this was just one of the ways we're addressing that. So it's a short amendment. Right now, it's under review by the legal department, but I was asked to kind of get it on the agenda for September because they've already bid out replacing those fences. They're getting ready to award the contract. So they really want this in place before they install the fences.
But they're doing the city fences, not the MDOT fences along
No, just the city fences, just along the city rights of way. The public right-of-way fence ordinance will cover all of those. Because it says city or other public entity having control of the right of way. So state or county. So if those guys come in and replace fences, the same rule would apply. Like you need to keep 3 feet away from these right of way fences because the taxpayers are paying for these fences. So it's reasonable if the property owners, those individual property owners are benefiting from the fence, just don't do stuff that damages it. That's all we're asking. We're not saying you gotta be 3 feet. Just give us 3 foot clear by that fence. And honestly, as we all know, if you let stuff grow up in the fence, it's gonna tear your fence up. Like a properly maintained chain link fence can last 50 years, but if you let trees grow in it, the trees will just tear it apart. You get a mulberry up in there, it'll just push it apart and just tear it to pieces. A tree of heaven, same thing. So we're trying to make that as minimal as possible. We didn't want to get too far into people's property for rights, but if we can see, and for code enforcement to keep it simple, if they can see a tree leaning on it, that's a violation. If they can see it bowing, that means something's a problem. all. So it's, it's one of those things of like, all right, well, if we're gonna pay to put these fences back in, let's try to keep them maintained properly. The whole point is to provide that consistent aesthetic look in the city, because if you end up with everybody installing their own fence, you'll literally go down the road and it'll be wood fence, plastic fence, chain link fence. You'll end up with this weird variety of fencing, and it just looks, and if you can see it in other communities, it looks weird. It doesn't really look cohesive. So that's one of those issues we're trying to get at. We'll see, like I said, I'm trying to look at, when I write ordinance amendments, I try to keep them simple because I know complicated ordinances are hard to enforce. So just keep them as simple as you can. Long-range study meeting, we are recommending cancellation of that meeting. We really don't have enough business to warrant it, so I would be looking for a motion on that.
To the chair.
Looks like I'm in.
Second.
I'd like to recommend cancellation of September 17th, long-range study meeting with the Planning Commission.
Support.
Commissioner Willis, did you support?
I did.
You didn't hear that.
It's
His mouth.
really supported.
We got a favorable recommendation to cancel September 17th meeting by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Done.
cancel.
And then the 24th, those same items will come back. So that's all I have for this evening.
Through the chair?
I was gonna just add two comments to the daycare, the family daycare, the group, family to group.
Yeah.
Really, I think I've had to document those projects in a couple other cities.
Yeah.
All they really need is a zoning compliance letter from the city for the state of Michigan. And it does seem like that's a $50 kind of call you up and make sure there's no complaints item, not go to 5 meetings and pay an architect thousands of dollars. And
Yeah. The state
Yeah,
law,
all
the
the
state
other
Building Act does
costs.
allow us to make group daycare homes a special land use, but the question is, just because you can do something, should you do it?
yeah,
What interest of the community is it serving by making that so much more expensive and time consuming is the question. And because if I'm always like, look, sometimes there is a good reason to make things more time consuming and expensive. There are special land uses that really do have to be special land uses because they may not be appropriate in every location. You may really have to look at that spot, that property, what's around that property, and you may decide in some cases there's not a reasonable design that makes that use fit there, and you'll say no as a result. I've recommended denial in my career on a couple of it. We tried to work out a plan that would make that use work on that site, but like there was just no version of a functional site plan for that use that was also compatible with the surrounding uses. And it happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. But with childcare homes, group childcare homes, it's literally taking care of kids in a house. I mean,
there's no change except for maybe 4 or 5 cars during the day.
like a little bit of time, and usually they're staggered because people don't have the same start and stop times.
Yeah,
Like I think when my kids were in group childcare homes, typically it would be surprising if there were more than 2 clients' cars there at any one time. Just because of the way, because you got to go to work or you're getting back from work and you got to go, you got something to do. You're not hanging out there. You're literally there dropping your kid off 5-10 minutes, and at the end of the day you're picking them up and out. So it's, there's a level of concern there from maybe when this first started that experience has shown us as maybe exaggerated.
Through
So,
the chair, can the planning department make a recommendation to make that, can we ask the planning department to make a recommendation that we do what you're suggesting?
yeah, I mean, we can probably take it to council at a study meeting and ask them their opinion as well. Maybe ask neighborhood services would be a good committee to take it to. I know Planner Crode is still in favor of keeping these as special land uses. This is my experience talking. He's got a different experience because his mother ran group childcare homes in New York, which is was a very different regulatory environment than Michigan. And, it's a different experience. To me, I'm like, there's a lot of rules now that didn't exist 20 years ago. Like, I've provided you guys with that manual for group childcare homes. 20 years ago, that was a 10-page thing. Now it's 90 pages. So it's a pretty substantial set of regulations that didn't exist before. And a lot of times local regulation first started out because the state or county regulation wasn't adequate and it was filling a gap. It's like the early building codes. The early building codes, a lot of zoning stuff addressed things like light and air and spacing because, and potential for fire spread, because the early building codes didn't. But now they do. They do it thoroughly. So we really don't need to do that in the zoning ordinance. It's thoroughly covered in the building codes, the fire codes. So it's a question of where does the correct regulatory levels lie? So I would think, my thought is basically this, unless there's a request from council to planning, it's probably not going to move, frankly. So I would say, like, when you're talking to council folks, you might want to mention it, would be my, kind of just say, hey, or when you have a chance to speak to Planner Krog when he's here next time, that's another option
I
too.
just did.
Yeah, I mean,
I just did.
yeah,
I
it's-
just did.
yeah,
Didn't I?
yeah.
You said it to us.
He's the director, I'm a deputy, so it's, if you, in the end, he says, no, we're not moving that forward, then as the department, we're not moving it forward. So, I argued this earlier, and I was only one person arguing it, so it didn't really make as much of an impression.
In my defense, I was nodding my head and
Yeah. But I'll argue with anybody, so it doesn't really, like,
Oh, my other just public comment was, listen to your architects and engineers, people, please.
yeah,
Don't build things out of order, go through the process.
yeah, absolutely.
It saves you money in the long
Yeah.
run.
I mean, I'll let him know that we discussed it a little bit. You all are interested in maybe seeing that level of regulation decreased, and we'll see what he says to that.
But didn't we make that official?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a, request of the city planner to look into it. In the end, like, he answers to the city council. That's who his boss is. That's how the charter's written.
Okay, then I'm not understanding the authority of the commission.
The commission can make recommendations, but in the end, and the city planner can take that recommendation and kind of decide what he's gonna do with it. Because it's your recommending body when it comes to ordinances, not a deciding body. So,
So move it to the top of the list.
yeah, and definitely
Accessory dwelling
raise it
units.
when you can, where you can. Like, that's like, if this had come up prior to the joint meeting, I'd have said raise it at the joint meeting.
Yeah.
Because if he heard it from everybody at the joint meeting, you would know what needs to happen next. So, it's like I said, I always am willing to argue my position, but I wasn't really getting a lot of traction, so. And that happens, like, sometimes the time's not right. Like, I've been doing this over 20 years, and sometimes I learn, like, sometimes I just need to be patient, it will come. If enough people agree and enough people talk about it, eventually the ball moves.
All
Okay,
right.
well, John, just one, I drove down Lassa Road and I saw new housing being developed near 9 Mile, across from Southfield High, that commercial strip is being developed. The gym on 9 Mile, they're building on that, and I've seen bus stop benches. I feel like I'm a part of all of that, so just want to, it is.
Yeah, our contractor was out installing them all over the place over the last couple of weeks.
like all day today
Yeah,
inspecting.
they've done plots on 11 Mile.
Yep.
They've got the concrete in, they've got some of the benches in. I've seen them in use. People are happy.
Yep. You
The
know,
mayor
Could-
sent, or
they're sitting there, I'm not sure it
Showing
smiles,
Gary
but
some,
necessary.
like, Metro magazine for someone runs, but Southfield was voted like most improved city throughout the whole state.
okay.
It's pretty cool, yeah. And we just got contacted by the Regional Transit Authority.
Right.
Their access to transit program, they're interested in partnering us to improve more bus stops. So we just got that 200 grand from MDOT to improve us bus stops. We're working with Access to Transit at Oakland County to do some work for improving some safety areas. And Regional Transit Authority is actually contacting us about doing additional transit stop improvements. So having a program that people can see is having an effect is attracting these other agencies who have money. I'm like going, well, if RTA, the Regional Transit Authority, has a bucket of money for this, I am interested in their bucket of money.
Bring the buckets.
Can I have a question?
Sure.
When we approve a plan and then in the building stage or what, these places make changes to it,
Yeah.
are they do they go to the city planner for approval? As an example, the gas station on 10 Mile where they had a one-story extension, add-on, and they ended up doing two-story?
They're supposed to go through like at least an administrative site plan review, and as long as it doesn't cause any new zoning board waivers, we can approve them administratively. In some cases, that one in particular, somehow that one just got through permitting without getting kicked back because it didn't match the site plan. I'm not really sure what the disconnect was, because the approved site plan is in the permitting system. Like, all that has to happen is you just need to look at the two plans. I saw the problem, I put them both up on the screen because I had two screens.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, they changed that.
yeah.
You know, and what happens when they do refer them to us before they issue the building permits, I pop open the submitted permit plan, put it right next to the approved site plan, and I just compare them. It takes 15 minutes to see if they changed anything major, but sometimes the building department doesn't let us know people have applied for building permits, so we don't get to look at them. And that, even though it's in the system, apparently they're not checking them. So that one in particular seems to have slipped through the system. We've had a conversation with the building official about that, and then being a little more careful, that if they see an approved site plan in the system, they either need to check it or refer it to us and we'll check it.
And here, the gas station on Northwestern Highway at Franklin, they had, in their plan, they had a mural on the ground.
Yeah.
And they didn't do the mural, they got window
There
mural.
was a cost issue.
And maintenance issue.
Someone
Yeah.
new came in, new
Yeah.
engineering firm or something. We went back and forth with them, we tried holding them to the fire with the mural. We emphasized that council approved it based in part on that, but in the end we compromised with that mural to try bifold mural.
And that one was an admin site plan review, and it did go to the Arts Commission for
Yeah, I was
approval.
gonna say, because that had to go through the
Yeah,
arts.
so
Commission.
that one did go through the process for the change. Like, and there were a couple things, like the county, there was supposed to be two curb cuts on Northwestern, but the county wouldn't give them the one closer to the corner, which was good. So when I went out to do the final inspection, there's two curb cuts and the plans had three. And I'm like, I'm not sad that that curb cut went away, but I need as-built plans to put in the file. So we, like in those cases, if they make a change and it's approvable, and we're kind of at the end of the project, I'll just get as-built and we will take them in and stamp them up as as-built and put them in the system, if they're approvable. We do have landscape plans too. Sometimes when they actually plant the landscaping, there are changes made due to plant availability. In other words, we'll just get an as-built. We'll take that in, we'll stamp it, get it in the system and upload it. So it's later on, when somebody's here 5 years from now and they're pulling the landscape plan, they'll be like, okay, that's the approved site plan, but this is the actual as-built plan that was submitted and approved in the end. So they'll know, you know, leave it, that way the code enforcement and the owner aren't getting in a fight over something that was never like that, not really. So, and it is a problem we have to deal with, because I very rarely in my career seen anybody go from site plan to construction documents without having to make some changes to the plan. Because when you actually make that transition to full construction documents, it almost always leads to some kind of modification to the plan. I'm sure Mr. Griffiths could talk about that all day. It's-
Buildings cost a lot of money, so
Yeah,
sometimes
so
you gotta
sometimes
scale back.
you're,
Yeah.
and some things, it turns out, certain configurations on being impractical due to utility issues
Yeah,
and other
there's not time
problems.
to figure it all out.
So,
As going along with what you're just saying, for the address on Telegraph where it was 440 instead of 260 or whatever,
Yeah.
460, they made the change to the landscape, but they made the change at the council meeting, not in the plans or anything. So is that going to be?
yeah, we'll undoubtedly require them to submit revised plans, which we'll review, and if we can approve them administratively, they don't violate anything in the zoning ordinance, we may approve them
Yeah,
administratively.
they're just in a change in the location of some of the landscape.
Yeah, we do that all the time, because frequently that's, unless there's a specific screening requirement, and those plants have to be in that spot, which there are some like that. If it's just kind of a green belt, we'll be like, okay, yeah, you shifted around a few plants, you substituted some plants because you couldn't get 50 spirea, you ended up with an alternative that was in the nursery. We deal with that all the time, because in the end, as long as they're meeting the requirements, we try to be at least reasonable, and they're consistent with the approved plans. So if you look at the actual conditions, the way we write them in the final approval too, it'll say, property and building or development to be developed consistent with the approved site plan. And the idea is that, like, there will be changes, and we don't want to, like, handcuff ourselves and have literally every project have to come back 3 times, even after it's built. So if the changes are minor, and the smarter builders and developers contact us before they make major changes, they'll call us. We're like, you have our phone number, you've already talked to us before. If you're gonna make a major change, just call me. And I can say, yeah, okay, send me a revised plan, and we can approve that. But we'll do minor changes, we do like a quick admin review, it's like $250. And then we have all the paperwork we need, and it's in the system. So like if you're making minor changes to landscaping, or maybe your parking lot striping is a little bit different, but still meets the code, it's technically $292 because it's $250 plus a $40 application fee plus a $2 processing fee. But it's still less than the $1,000 or $1,200 fee for a full site plan review because it's a minor change. So we handle those all the time. It's one of those things, actually, when we did the site plan review amendment last year, we expanded the administrative review authority, and it really covered a lot more of these administrative changes. Unless it needs a new special land use or it needs zoning board waivers, we can generally handle it administratively. Because we don't want to bunch up the boards and slow everything that's getting built down that much. So, yeah.
I guess my point on that was that if we went through and approved it, maybe you should just at least tell us that, hey, this was changed for that, and we know about it, and that, so,
Yeah.
I mean, just to keep us informed, that's all.
Yeah, and I would say we could try to do that, but I can tell you almost every project has at least minor changes.
Well, yeah,
You
well-
can just assume every project has minor. Now, if you see major changes like putting a second floor on a building, that's a
type of
major
thing,
change, yeah. We didn't know about that one. When you called me, I'm like going, oh, look at this. Because I pulled up the permit plans, I'm like, yep. You know, it's like, great. So, yeah, that one, unfortunately, you know, the building department probably handles 5, 6, 7,000 permit applications a year. Every once in a while, one of them slips through. And maybe shouldn't have, but once again, there are no zero error systems. So, it is what it is.
Last but not least,
Yep.
the Planning Association is putting on a thing on solar energy.
Okay.
I see basically no areas where Southfield would be any part of putting in a solar field, a solar farm, and that. Is there?
We do have regulations in the zoning ordinance related to solar systems, including would cover small-scale solar installed on existing
Roofs,
buildings, residential, but also would cover if somebody wanted to do a solar farm. But we don't have a lot of the kind of property that typically is used for that. So I don't think that one is, I mean, I've never had an inquiry on that here, have you, Alex? I've never even heard of an inquiry on that here. So I think it's just built-out communities like Southfield that don't have a lot of open, undesignated, unused land are not really where they're looking. Our land's too expensive, and it's already built on or been built on before. They're usually looking for stuff that's, you know, got good southern exposure, but also is relatively inexpensive, like unused farmland.
And even if they wanted to, they still have to deal with all the NIMBYs coming out against it, talking about, oh, my whatever is gonna happen. So it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a bunch of small-scale stuff on rooftops around town, and they're approved administratively. It's really just an admin site plan review and then an electrical permit.
And there was
Typically.
a solar program that would help homeowners be able to afford that. But, you know, federal government took that
Is
away.
putting the X, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There were some weird incentive ones for commercial property too, but they were so complicated, they almost never ever got used, even under prior administrations. So once again, sometimes the government tries to help, but makes things way too complicated.
Through the chair, I'd like
Stevens,
to
go.
make a recommendation that we adjourn the meeting.
However,
Support.
Okay. Do you have something brief?
No, he was joking.
that was,
That was a joke.
All right.
He said, like, dude, do you have
Motion
something?
adjourned, Dr. Stevens, go ahead. Support by Commissioner Goodall, all in favor.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.